If you already see a small bed bug, you need to treat it right away because in no time you'll be full of bed bugs. Today I'll tell you everything in detail and explain how we try to avoid bed bugs as much as possible. Hello to all the farmers. I hope you're all well. Now we're heading towards the first week of July is starting and you can begin to see the bed bugs. The first bed bugs are very, very small. And now is the time to start worrying about them. Now the bed bug goes to attack our plants. And generally the ones that get attacked the most are the fruit plants. And then tomatoes are also heavily attacked. I'll show you the tomato damage. What do you see? See, these here are the first marks made by the stink bug. The tomato ends up much, much more wrinkled. In this case, see? Because basically they go there with their mouth and inject their nasty stuff inside. And basically, you can eat the tomato. But for us, it's a big loss because it's a product we can't sell. I mean, this tomato has to be thrown away. Now, of course, the damage is still minor. It happened to a cluster of tomatoes because the stink bugs are very small. And here we can already start to make the distinction. In fact, our bug, let's call it that, is the green stink bug. In the last 10 years, we've had the attack of the Chinese stink bug. We recognize it by the pattern on its back. And in the last 3 or 4 years, the stink bug has hybridized. So now we have green stink bugs that have hybridized with Chinese ones, resulting in patterned stink bugs. A little bit strange, half from one species and half from the other. But basically, the damage they cause is the same. You see it, it's there, it's there, it's there. With the heat, the stink bug comes out of hibernation. That means it leaves the places where it usually goes into dormancy, like tarps, nets, attics, and protected areas. And when it comes out of hibernation, it starts to attack. Usually around June or July, it attacks the whole part that completes the fruit. In July and August, it starts attacking tomatoes. It even starts hitting them pretty hard. So we risk that if we don't take care of it, the entire production, especially the one in August, will be completely compromised. Be careful, this is a particularly hot summer, so the stink bug is attacking even more because with the heat, it tends to come out. We realize we have stink bugs either when we see the tomato marked or we can notice them during the cooler hours. In fact, during the hottest hours, the stink bug tends to hide. I'm not saying underground, but in the grass at the bottom of the tomatoes. So already here, when should the treatment be done? The treatment should be done during the cooler hours because that's when we catch the stink bug. The problem with the stink bug is that it's very similar to a cockroach. When it's big, it has a shell that's very hard to penetrate. So whatever treatment we do won't affect it anymore. And here we start talking about treatments. In fact, the video we're making today is a video without any nonsense. Let's try to focus on products that are actually effective and don't cause a bunch of other problems. I'll give you the classic example, nettle macerate, which is so praised because you can make it at home. I don't use it in the garden because if you've ever made nettle macerate, I have, you realize that it smells terrible and the tomatoes will smell terrible too. Why do you have to wash them afterward? So well. They're not really something poisonous for our system, but they really smell like death, so they become something inedible. Watch out. The more naturally we keep washing the fruit, the vegetables, the more naturally the fruit and vegetables spoil. So it's very hard to get rid of the bad taste. So we're noticing the same thing. That even with classic neem oil, it has the same identical effect. So what treatments are we going to do? I've already given you a tip. The stink bug should be handled while it's small, before its shell fully develops. And so we can still keep it very, very much under control. The trick with stink bugs is that we have to constantly keep the population under control so that it doesn't grow exponentially. When we have the problem in August, and why do we have the problem in August? Because in July they started to multiply. Then in August, all the families attack us together over the tomatoes. We have already started, in fact, to do the treatments. Now, to be honest, there are traps, pheromone traps. I have tried a few of them in the past. I'll leave them for you below in the description. The pheromone trap is basically sheets where a pheromone is placed, and underneath there's a pool of water. The bugs fall in and die. They work. You have to be very, very, very careful because the trap works really well. If you have at least a plot of land, I'd say at least 1,000 square meters. This is because the stink bug, when flying, senses the pheromones, goes to stick to it, and basically stays there. The problem is that even traps need to be placed correctly. That is, if there are tomatoes between where the stink bug comes from and the trap, the stink bug will stop on the tomatoes and won't go to the pheromone. One of the strategies here would be to map as much as possible with 4 traps on the sides so as to stun them as much as possible. We use the traps in the month of August when there's a heavier presence of stink bugs. Why is that? Because at this moment, if the stink bugs sense the pheromone, stink bugs from all the surrounding fields come to me. And I don't want that. Be careful because no one tells you this. It'd be easier for me to make a video claiming I solved the stink bug problem by just doing this, but that's not true. So what are we doing now? We're starting to do the treatments as we said. The stink bugs are small. What works now? Zeolite, since the stink bugs are small, irritates the stink bugs. We do very heavy treatments with the maximum dose of zeolite so that we whiten a lot. The skin of the tomato zeolite doesn't leave any taste. It's quite easy to wash off tomatoes. When we pick them, we dip them, and we're good to go. The way you see the tomatoes, you want to use a treatment that's allowed in organic farming. You can use pyrethrum. Pyrethrum isn't necessarily the best product for stink bugs, but it's quite effective. The problem with pyrethrum is that if you apply it during sunny hours, it will end up killing all the insects present, including bees. So we need to be very, very careful. Now, for pyrethrum, a license is required. I know that unfortunately you can still find it on various online stores. Why am I telling you about pyrethrum? Not to encourage you to get pyrethrum without a license, but because people do get pyrethrum without a license. People don't read the instructions that are there, and they are there. The death of pollinating insects. That's why I'm telling you this. You shouldn't do it carelessly, but if you really want to do something foolish, the trickster, please, I'm begging you, don't do it during the hottest hours. So that means you have to do it between 4 and 5 in the morning or after 9 in the evening. You go and get bumblebees, bees, and all the insects, ladybugs, all the beneficial insects. You kill them all. Please, please, please. Just to be clear, here we have the tomatoes. See how beautiful they are. I mean, look at this year's production. It's really spectacular. Very healthy. If you use pyrethrum now, it's like this, see? Here we have basil that's gone to flower. I'm keeping it in bloom on purpose because look how they're foraging on it. Guys, we can't go killing these amazing insects just to get rid of the stink bugs. Oh man, I really love bees so much, so please take care of them, okay? Please, let's not do anything stupid. I'm telling you because, oh man, look how much it's gathered. Look at its little legs. See how the legs are starting to get full of pollen. Look at that. Did you see how full of pollen its legs are? Yeah, see how well they're working? That's why we don't disturb them. We just let them work. Now, other products. In case you don't have the license, we said that you can use zeolite. You can take that. You could use neem oil. Neem oil is quite effective, but it doesn't kill the stink bug. It just makes it move away, like zeolite. It's not a knockdown. Neem oil smells so bad that the stink bug prefers to leave. Be careful though, because you're just moving the problem. And this is one of the issues we have with the stink bug. That is, without a license, we don't have tools that can knock down the stink bug. To sum up, the stink bug is very difficult to knock down. We have to work on keeping it contained as much as possible. We have to act in advance, but not with everything, of course. Now, if we start with the traps right now, At this moment, it's not effective because we risk attracting all the bugs into our crop. But if we don't do anything, we risk that all the bugs will come anyway. And above all, they start to establish a resident family. So the best thing is, if you don't have a license, definitely go with zeolite. Spray your plants a lot so you can get rid of the insects, in this case, the stink bugs, as much as possible. If you have a license, pyrethrum can be a solution. There are other products, but those aren't organic and are much more effective. With this, however, they're less selective, so it's also true here that pyrethrum isn't selective if you use pyrethrum. Please, I beg you for my bees. This year we're doing everything we can to bring them here. Please, please, please. And above all, a little warning. Don't always believe in grandma's remedies that cure everything. There are some problems that are hard to beat. In our case, the stink bug is a really, really tough opponent. What I've learned to do over the years is to learn to live with it and above all, to limit it as much as possible. Do it when it's colder or any time if using zeolite. I recommend doing it during cooler hours so you can throw it on top. Another final thing that comes to mind right now, if you see them, it's a bit gross though. Pick them up directly and kill them yourself. Usually that's a good strategy. And that's it. Farmer, see you in the next video. I hope I didn't disappoint you. This is the plain and simple truth. If we want to treat things naturally, we have to keep in mind that we need to act in advance. See you in the next video. Bye, everyone.